independent citizens subject to political indoctrination, which is something that does not exist in the other countries, but it is a reality in Rwanda. So with that, I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kida, for these insights. And now, definitely not least, we have Mr. Wong, the floor is yours.
Is it working?
Yeah, it should be all good.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to be on this panel with the distinguished panelists. My name is Jiwunye Center. My real name is Jiwunye Center for Robert. I always keep complaining that my musical stage name slowly but surely overtook my real name. However, I'm consoled because it's much easier to pronounce. So please call me Bobi if you feel like. I strongly believe that I shouldn't be the one here, especially if in the room we have my extraordinarily strong wife, Barbara Chagulanyi, who I believe is one of the strongest women that I know. And in addition to that, in the house we have my sister Agakagwawo. She's a lawyer and activist, and she has gone through so much that I believe not so many can stand. However, since today I'm the one invited and I'm the one having a nectar in my neck, I'll speak, and I believe I represent them. I've listened to the panelists. However, I strongly believe that if it's to talk about repression, if it's to talk about gross human rights violations, if it's to talk about cross-border repression, if it's to talk about dictatorship, then Uganda should be the country to come first. Uganda is a country of close to 50 million people under the firm grip of General Museveni for 40 years and counting. He took power by barrel of the gun in 1986, and up to now, he's still in charge of our country. He is famously quoted to have said the problem with Uganda in particular and Africa in general are the leaders that overstay in power. But now it's a very big crime to remind him of what he said when he was my age. I am here not an invitation, not voluntarily. I'm here because I ran away, I escaped from my country. On January 15th, we had a presidential election, which I strongly believe we won. I was the main challenger of General Museveni. We had an election where the internet was switched off 2 days to the election, and it remained off for a week. We had an election where immediately after I cast my vote, I was put under house arrest with my wife. But before that, days before, many dozens of our party officials were rounded up and detained. My two deputy presidents, who are women, were abducted the day before the election, and they remained missing for 2 weeks. When they resurfaced, they told an ordeal of being detained in a military barracks supervised by General Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is actually the Chief of Defense Forces in Uganda. Many people were abducted, they've not been seen again. My deputy president for the Buganda region, the most populous region, had his house raided by the military. See, women play a big role in our elections. They are the organizers. And when somebody's running, we tend to have our tally centers when we collect the declaration of result forms. The women tend to play the most important role of compiling the results. Now the military raided the house of Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi and shot into the house, killing 10 people in his house, 8 of which were women. Now I'm only talking about the ones that are known, but as we speak, thousands of our supporters are in jails. The difference between 2026 and 2021, because I ran in 2021 as well, is that in 2021 there was still a semblance of cover-up. However, in 2026, because the son of the president, who also doubles as the Chief of Defense Forces, the Army Commander, does not pretend to be a good dictator. He will kill people and he will take pride in it. He will post on social media about it. He was proud to post that I have killed 24 of National Unity Platform, which is the political party I lead. I've killed 24 of NUP members, and I'm so willing, I'm looking forward to kill the 25th, which I want to be Bobi. Now Bobi is me. He ordered for my execution, and indeed my house was raided on the 16th of January, and I was lucky because we had gotten some good lessons of 2026. I played James Bond and escaped from my house. Yeah, it would be funny if it wasn't sad. You know, I left my house. A few days later, my house was raided again because my wife remained under house arrest. This time, the soldiers broke into my house, only men. They beat up my wife so bad and my other family members. They stripped her naked. Meanwhile, they were filming. And like I said, the son of the president, who also is the commander of the military, takes pride in torture, especially torturing vulnerable people like women. He was proud to post the image of my wife subdued on the floor with soldiers with guns. And he said, yeah, this is the picture when he captured Kabobi's wife, and she was forced to tell us where the husband was. I remained on the run. I mean, so much of that. It is not only happening with my wife. He abducted my bodyguard and long-term friend Eddie. We looked for him for 2 weeks. We complained everywhere until in the middle of the night he tweeted and said, don't look for him. I'm holding him in my basement and I'm teaching him Runyankole. Now Runyankole is the language of the tribe where General Museveni comes from. And indeed, when Eddie showed up, he was all shaved, beaten, but unfortunately when he was taken to court, he was not given a chance to go to the ICU in hospital. He was thrown in jail and is still in jail. Now these stories have gone on and on and on and on and on and on. The repression, the abuse of human rights in Uganda is worse and worse and worse as it keeps going. When people talk about the same, I understand when you talk about it in Tanzania, in Kenya, but like Trevor Noah one time joked, say in Uganda, it is worse. What makes it even worse is that those that we look up to are not looking for accountability. I like that Otseno talked about it. It is not accountability and justice that is looked for, but political settlements. No wonder so many political players are silenced or compromised. We have what is supposed to be the highest moral body, the Interreligious Council. Now the Interreligious Council comprises of religious leaders, leaders of all the religious sects that come together in what is supposed to be a moral body. They went to my house when I was being looked for, when the son of the president was tweeting every day, giving me 48 hours to show up or you'll find me and kill me, ordering soldiers to look for me everywhere and kill me. Again, my wife and family was under house arrest. They did not have food because nobody was allowed to go in my house or come out of my house. But when the Interreligious Council went to my house, what they were asking my wife to do, number one, there were two things. First is to warn me not to destabilize the country. And two, asking whether I'm willing to sit down with General Museveni. And I've said it many times, that we are not disagreeable to dialogue, but not transactional dialogue. And also reasserting ourselves that it's only free people that negotiate. And our negotiation should be about a transition and what works for our country, not how much money I want or what position I want as an individual. Now this has also been a big problem to us. We find ourselves in the United States and not in any country in Africa. Why? Because we believe that it is countries like the United States that wield power and influence over authoritarians like General Museveni. We are aware that for a long time the United States was giving up to $1 billion annually to Uganda in security cooperation. So we have always been requesting not just the United States but other development partners like the EU and the UK, that this aid should be conditioned to values that we all profess: democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Unfortunately, it has many times played up as if the US and other development partners are only interested in diplomacy and not democracy. And that we believe that the more we and you friends echo that desire, that is what's going to work. Many times the US seems to be persuaded by security cooperation, but not democracy, not the promotion of human rights, which is very disturbing in our case. Now, Professor mentioned it in the case of Tanzania, that in Tanzania, the citizens look at the government like a parent. I wish we could look at the government like a parent, but for us, the government in Uganda is looked at, in fact, the president is looked at as a king, and we are subjects. And the son of the president plays it right, because he's not shy to go on social media and say, well, I cannot wait for Museveni to step aside so I can take my inheritance. For clarity, I would request some of you, and I think I'm promoting him, please go and follow Muhoozi Kainerugaba on Twitter. That will help us, to speak less, because he helps us. He puts everything, and whatever he tweets, we believe it is in many ways their dinner table talk. Now, talking about trans-border repression, transnational repression. In the yesteryears, when people were struggling for freedom and for democracy, particularly in Uganda, they would run to Kenya, they would run to Tanzania. But when I was running out of my country, I could not board a plane in Kenya. I could not board a plane in Tanzania. I had to run as far as 3-4 countries away, because General Museveni is more like the godfather of the region. Dr. Kizza Besigye, the guy who mentored us, and a veteran freedom fighter and political activist and opposition leader, was picked from Kenya. He was abducted from Kenya by the Ugandan security. He was driven across the border in a car trunk and only showed up in Uganda in a military court. This has happened many times. My sister Agatha is here. My brother from Kenya, Boniface Mwangi, faced the same plight when they went to stand with our brother Tundu Lissu in Tanzania. This goes on and on and on and on. What I feel is causing this is the inaction and perceived complacency by those that are supposed to be moral big brothers. Kenya used to be safe. Tanzania used to be safe. I want to believe that because the leaders there seemed to expect repercussions when they abuse rights. But General Museveni in Uganda has emboldened all other leaders to abuse rights with impunity because they see him get away with it. This is a guy that has been in power for 40 years. This is a guy that massacres with race abandon. This is a guy who has a son that will threaten even other countries. When he threatened to invade Kenya and capture its capital in 1 week, the father, who is the president of Uganda, came out and publicly apologized to Kenya, but the following day promoted the son. When the son tweeted an image of a tortured political activist, the following day he was made the commander of the military in Uganda. So impunity, injustice, and gross human rights violation and crime is rewarded in Uganda, and Uganda gets away with it. I want you to imagine a situation where the Chief of Defense Forces tweets having killed 24 political opponents and tweets that he orders his military publicly to look for the presidential candidate that is challenging his father and bring his testicles. I apologize for my crude language, but he tweeted and ordered that my testicles should be delivered to him. Interestingly, the following day, he was standing shoulder to shoulder with diplomats, having dinner with ambassadors of democracies. So this, in many ways, is a slap in the faces of those that talk about human rights, that talk about democracy. And it speaks to the silent acceptance of this. So I want to say this, that maybe this impunity wouldn't be happening. Maybe this dictatorship wouldn't be accepted. And maybe these authoritarian leaders would not be behaving like this. But because their actions are seemingly acceptable by the inaction and by the blind eye that is given to them, then it keeps growing. Now, abductions are the order of the day in Tanzania, they are the order of the day in Kenya. Don't be shocked when they are the order of the day in other countries. I could have gone on and on and on and on, but maybe I'll stop here. And I like to make my conversations interactive. I apologize, I'm still healing from that recent trauma. I tend to pinch myself to make sure I wake up from the ordeal and confirm that I'm surely out of Uganda, because I had to escape from my own country. Many of my friends that are perceived and are told to have helped me, some of them, I'm told, have been shot and killed. When I was nominated to run for president, the Electoral Commission gave me 16 police officers to man my security, like they did to all other presidential candidates. Interestingly, after my exit from the country, all of them were rounded up and detained. I'm told that 9 of them were dismissed from the police with disgrace. They're being accused of aiding me to exit the country, while others are still in detention. So much has gone on. Many political activists are still detained. Many of our comrades are still detained. But I hear that they are suggesting to have negotiations with the government to allow me to return to my country and to allow the political party I lead to be recognized as a legitimate political party. So I wonder what they nominated to run for president. I could go, like I said, I could go on and on and on, but maybe I'll take the questions. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I thank you, fellow panelists. Thank you very much.
So thank you all for coming. We're now going to open the questions to the audience. We are at time, so if people have to leave at 7, we completely understand. But also, if you are willing and able to stay for the Q&A round, you're more than welcome to do so. What I would ask is that you come and line up on the side, because if you are in the crowd, the panelists online can unfortunately not hear you unless you have a mic. So I have a handheld one right here. And so I will be putting it over there, and then our panelists will answer questions. So if you have anything to ask, please stand over there, you'll be on this side.
Go ahead. You good? I'm sorry. You're fine.
How would you like the international community's policies and action to emphasize this emphasis of human rights and accountability. I know you've made public calls for sanctions from the United States as well as the EU. So I'm wondering, after sanctions, what else would you like to see from these regional partners and institutions, given the fact that they seem to be co-opting the very actors that are perpetuating human rights atrocities in impunity? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. We're going to go ahead and pick up the mic. Would you prefer that we just ask all the questions at once and we answer them? Yeah, okay. Come on, then.
Hello, my name is Owen. My question is a general question. How does civil society get back on track when it's being attacked? And it seems that it doesn't have much of a chance to recover when these authoritarian leaders are attacking it. It's very important to the preservation of democracy, and so I'm curious how we see it staying in shape and recovering even through attacks.
Thank you.
John Lema, and my question is just to panelists. I already shared that with Professor Elizabeth about human rights. So I need to know from them, because from all that has been happening in Uganda, none of them came out and stood with Uganda, pronounced it, all the atrocities that are happening. And then secondly, when we say we are standing for Ugandans, and we heard from their talk right now, it's not about Uganda, just like the president said. It's about Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia. But right now, it's about Uganda. And that's the reason we're here. But they haven't mentioned anything concrete about Uganda. Do they stand for that? Or they have their agendas? Because human rights is supposed to be standing. Because what I told Professor Elizabeth, our own chairperson came out and said, it's above my limit. Because I can't handle this, they've threatened my life. So I'm not going to speak. The only person I know that spoke about human rights in Uganda, and I know the president knows, he was called Tom Buruku the Late. He used to live actually right next to you, Bukoto Flats, the white flats. So he came out and told the president, I am not going to stand with you. So I'm asking all these representatives, what are they doing? Because all they do is pretense. We are tired of pretense. So I will need to listen to what they say. Thank you.
My name is Christine Rutale. I'm here to stand on Uganda. When I was young, we helped a lot of refugees from Sudan, from Rwanda. I was a girl guide. We never had anything to do with the human resources, which has brought us here. But Uganda, you people, I should call it you people, including ambassadors, have denied the suffering of Uganda. I remember when this thing happened, I called somebody here who is very important. And I said, our people are being killed, please, please, please. They said, that lady from Uganda every day calls here until I stopped. Whatever it is. Up to date, as he said, nobody talks about our people who have been killed in Uganda. Nothing. They have allowed one man, Museveni, to play a game on all heads of states in the whole world. This business of sanctions won't help. Even during Amini's time, it didn't. They have their money. In fact, they have allowed Chinese to give Uganda quick money than through World Bank and IMF. We have been there with some other people here complaining. There's nothing that has been done. But this time, don't allow that man to play a game on you. He has made the whole world be useless. Sorry to say so.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, yes. Hi, my name is Janelle Jim. I'm a senior here in the Elliott School of International Affairs. For my question, the one common thread that I noticed among all the speakers today was the concern of securitization of media within the region, and the securitization of media being used as a justification for digital authoritarianism. As Mr. Wine mentioned earlier, the use of media to almost put out warrants out for people through, Twitter, other forms of social media, and also media suppression as well. So, and how this framing of the media right now is being framed for countries outside of, after viewing a lot of the concerns that you have all brought up right now as being for security purposes, it's not being human rights violations. So my question is going towards how can this framing be reversed so that we can see so that we can see, the global community come and stand up against the securitization and these human rights abuses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Apollo. I'm an advocate from South Sudan. I have a couple of questions to Mr. President Bobi. The first one should be like, how do you envision the upcoming election should look like in Uganda and in Africa, as you are someone who went through these challenges? And then secondly, what would you tell the youth, the young people, the message that you want to send to them, especially Ugandan youth when we work together? I think most of the African youth, they get used to work with limited resources because youth through talent, and they have a lot of talent. So how can they break these barriers? And I wanted to go further than that also, the role of the diaspora. How can the diaspora be helping these transformations of democracy in Uganda? And also my last point, like you went through all these challenges, what gives you hope? Thank you.
I love the last part about the living hope. That's a very positive point. Go ahead.
All right, my name is God Bless. My question is directed to Bobi Wine. So I've heard about you before today, and someone spoke to me about your comment, and I was asked a question. I said I really don't know much about you other than the fact that you're in this trouble. But Mr. Bobi, what is your political, economic ideology? Say you become president in Uganda today, what will change? What sort of economy will you build for Ugandans that would, bring prosperity beyond what is currently happening? Because I can tell you this, that as much as many diasporans want to support people like you and the international community that you rightly call that, if they cannot see their interest in your ideology, both economically, it is going to be difficult to really back you all the way. So, are you a capitalist? Are you a socialist? What are you, beyond the fact that you want political power? I think a lot of us in the diaspora, we've gone past the let's just struggle for power, but what are we going to do so that we are not just repeating the same mistakes like those who just wanted power, like the people you're talking about?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us here today.
Yeah, I think after these two gentlemen, we're going to cap the questions for now because we have quite a list. So go ahead.
My name is Daniel Kauma from Uganda, and my question is going to our former State Department experts. And just to borrow your experience, I think we are noticing that foreign policy is changing across the world. It's becoming very transactional. And that puts oppositions like ours in Uganda at a disadvantage when current regimes can get away with atrocities. If I can offer you minerals, if I can offer you access to oil, if you can accept admitting deported migrants, and so forth and so forth. So I think the challenge is how do we work around the current system? I know it's not an easy question, where we see foreign policies becoming very commodified and transactional, where if you're speaking about human rights, few people are listening to you now. They are listening to who is getting them access to resources, minerals. We are seeing it in Venezuela and other countries as well. So how do we work around such a system to advocate for those voices? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Chiveri Peter. My question will be the last gentleman who went back. Because at this time I don't think Uganda will looking for any economic. There are a lot of people kidnapped, killed day and the night.
I'll answer the question.
Yeah.
Please ask your question.
Ask your question, boss.
Really, that's what makes me sad.
Okay.
So
you helped the president out.
I actually didn't have to ask a question. I came to show Professor Isabel was talking about people that allegedly have been tortured in Tanzania, and I am here. I am one of them. So I just came so that people see we did not allege. I still live that. My feet have never healed because of the torture. And we filed a case in the East African Court of Justice. We filed a case everywhere. And the international community let us down. You know, good for me is I do not expect so much in the international community. I expect so much in the people of Uganda. So I don't have a sense of entitlement on the international community to help us. I just also hope that you stop pretending that you are going to help when there's no help. And I'm sorry for saying you. I'm not meaning people here, but I'm saying that that's how the international community looks like. If what we said about Tanzania had been taken into consideration, because we came out after the torture, after being threatened that if we speak we will be killed, but we said we're going to speak so that it stops with us. That's what we at least expected, at the very least. If that had been considered, 10,000 people wouldn't have been massacred in Tanzania. But it wasn't. So I am here so that you see that I am the one living that right now, and I am still living it. Thank you.
On this very loaded list of questions, if you would like to go ahead and start answering them.
Sure, thank you very much. The first question was, what would we want the international community to do? And I'm very glad my sister Agakagwawo answered it. We are not asking you to come and save us. We are asking you to stop funding our oppression. It is the American taxpayer that gives Museveni those millions of dollars. We are willing, and indeed we're trying to fight against oppression, but we cannot fight against $1 billion every year. We cannot fight against the French guns, against the tear gas that comes from the Europe and all that, you know. We want to free ourselves, but we are fighting against a power that is behind a dictator. In the late 80s, it is until the United States denounced the apartheid government that apartheid fell. Otherwise, even Nelson Mandela was declared a terrorist by Margaret Thatcher. So, the dictators in Africa would not be surviving if they are not being supported by the West. Idi Amin was supported by the West until the West got his hands off him. The same was with Gaddafi and others. So, we are asking the international community to stop, first, three things: stop funding the oppressors. Or at least, if you are to have cooperation with African countries, particularly with Uganda, at least put conditions on that aid. Conditions like respect for democracy, respect for human rights, and respect for the rule of law. I think that is not too much to ask for. We are always mocked by the propagandists of the dictators back home. Every time we come here, we don't come here to ask for money. When they are being funded by the Western countries, they call it cooperation. When we come to the Western countries to demand that conditions are put on that aid, they call us Western puppets. So we are asking they should stop funding our operation, and they should use their moral tools that they have. Tools like sanctions, tools like the global Magnitsky, and also to disassociate. I've not seen an American president standing shoulder to shoulder with a European dictator Lukashenko. What Museveni does in Uganda, if it was a European president that does it to European people, I am sure that leader would not be in power the following week. Then why is the standard of human rights in Africa put at a lower standard? For lack of a better word, that is racism. So let the standard of democracy in Africa, let the standard of democracy, the standard of human rights in Africa be measured at the same standard with Europe. Somebody asked me, how can civil society be enabled to function? I wish my sister Agatha would help me answer that, because she's more vast in that area. Maybe at the end, I will humbly request her to help me answer that question. And how can the media be framed better to focus on human rights abuse? That's a very good question. The media, in many ways, and I'll talk in the case of Uganda, the media is owned. Almost all radio stations are owned by either a minister or an army general or somebody well positioned. And even those that are not owned are intimidated. We have a radio called the Central Broadcasting Service. It is owned by my kingdom. But I cannot be hosted on that radio because Museveni threatened them. In 2009, he took away their license, and they spent more than 15 years operating without a license. So that means that even those radio stations and TV stations are controlled and gagged and intimidated. Thanks to the generation that we live in, we have social media. And it is social media that is helping us. No wonder Facebook is now banned in Uganda. Under the hate of Facebook, you know, in Uganda, like nowhere in the world, they introduced social media tax. Have you heard about social media tax? When it was introduced in Uganda. So we survive on the internet. We, for lack of a better word, smuggle the truth out of Uganda using social media. And because it's a creative generation, we tend to, you know, find other creative ways. How can youth play a better role? Get involved. Fold your sleeves and get involved. This that we are doing for the generation to come, because we don't know how long we are going to live. We have seen anybody, especially in Uganda, who tries to stand up to a dictator ends up either in exile or in prison or dead. But to do it nevertheless, because we know that what we do inspires others. You take out one, others rise. You take out Besigye, Bobi rises. You send Bobi to exile, others rise. So pick a leaf, young people, and do what you have to do. After all, it is your future. I mean, yesterday I was a young man. Now I'm 44. I was a baby when Museveni came. I was 4 years. Now I'm almost a grandfather. So it is the youth that own the future. And to those in the diaspora, you have nothing like an excuse. You are safe. You are in safe spaces. You are not gagged. Use the opportunity. After all nations that have been liberated, their diasporas have played a very, very fundamental role. So get involved. Again, the same young man asked, what gives you hope? What gives me hope? History. History teaches us, yes, the young lady, thank you, from Sudan, South Sudan. History teaches us that oppressed people have never and can never be oppressed forever. Hitler was powerful, but he fell. Stalin was powerful, but he fell. Museveni is powerful, but he will fall. So that alone keeps us going, knowing that history is on our side, knowing that what we're doing is right. The fact that we've been arrested many times, Dr. Kiza Besigye, I think he's the most arrested person that I know, but he has never been convicted because the law is on his side. The law is on our side. And those of us who believe in God, we know God is on our side. And when God is on your side, my friend, nothing can stop you. So that alone gives us hope and keeps us going and going and going and going. Now there's some intellectual young man who asks, what is your economic, political ideology? I think, to me it sounded so elitist, maybe because I'm not so educated. But again, our mentor, Dr. Besigye, has mentioned it many times, that the intellectuals are the problem of our generation. I'm a freedom fighter, I just want to be free to choose. It is like asking a slave, what do you want to do with your freedom? Do you want to use it to go to New York? Or to go to, I just want to be free. I want to be free to choose. Now what if I'm a capitalist? Does that mean I don't deserve freedom? What if I'm a socialist? Does that mean I'm not supposed to get freedom? I thought freedom is the right to choose among options. As of now, we want the freedom to be citizens in our country. We want the freedom to have a vote. We don't have a vote in Uganda. We want the right to choose whether to be capitalist or socialist or none of the above. We don't have to explain, I don't have to explain to you whether I'm socialist or capitalist in order to be allowed to be free. So all we want is to be free. Yeah, I think that was all. May I ask my sister Agatha to please answer the question on civil society, because she's the expert on that. Thank you.
Before you start this, Agatha, I'm just going to say that because we're about half an hour over time, we're going to hard stop it at 7:30. So I'll answer any question.
It's just a simple question. I think it was about civil society and what it should do or can do. Civil society in Uganda is not allowed to do anything. 2 months ago, in January, 10 civil society organizations, including the one I work with, was suspended by the government because they did not want us to document anything regarding the elections, not the violations, nothing. That was followed by the freezing of the accounts, but also towards the elections, many civil society leaders were thrown in jail. One of them is called Sarah. Some of us had to run away and cover the elections from outside Uganda. So the civil society, space in Uganda has been shrinking very, very gradually for the last 6 years, especially financially. They started by sending out the Democratic Governance Fund, the European fund that was funding civil society in Uganda, and I think that was in 2021, because President Museveni, anyone that writes the wrong that the government is doing is viewed as subversive. So they told the DGF to hold funding and just it out of Uganda. Recently, everyone that was funding civil society organizations that are critical, that are political, especially those in the civil liberties space, was threatened by President Museveni's son with deportation. In fact, two diplomats were deported in the run-up to the election. One, a German from GIZ, another from GW. So that's what it has been. It's worse now. When they speak about President Museveni's son, I don't think Mr. Wine, like you guys call him, I do not think he explained enough that he's the one in charge. He's the one calling the shots now. So what happened was, I think some of the atrocities that Bobi mentioned here didn't include the atrocities out of Uganda. There's a UN report about atrocities of the UPDF, the Ugandan army in South Sudan. In DRC, they were forced, I think, to go out. So that's what's happening. And when it comes to us that are operating within that context, you will just remain with a few that have stood firm and said whatever comes, that those are few. And I don't blame those that have said, this is not worth it. I almost died in Tanzania and I spent 3 months or 4 wondering if it is worth it, struggling to continue this fight, wondering if it's worth to leave my children there because no one is helping, not our governments, not neighbors, not the international community or the international world order. We have the UN, we have ICC, we have everything, but it's not coming to us. So I understand why some civil society organizations right now as I speak are trying to negotiate with the government to beg them to reopen. And so that means that they will do whatever the government wants them to do or whatever the government doesn't want them to do. I think summarily that's what I can say. Thank you.
I was going to say we're going to take the last question that was addressed to you both, and you can go ahead and answer that. And then after this, we're going to call it because we have reached our 7:30. So you can go ahead and answer the question.
Thank you, and I really want to say for Ms. Agatha, who just spoke, I had not recognized you in the audience, but your story is incredibly profound, and your courage is so notable. And when we speak about things like what is the media doing, I would encourage people to look at BBC's documentary of her experience, her incredibly powerful testimony. Really, it's a great honor to have you here. I appreciate everything you've done to speak out. And when I think about what do we do in the face of transactional situations, first let me clarify, I don't work for the U.S. government anymore, and so I think this is not official. But I think this is not the first time that we have seen surges in policy that have been focused on transactional issues. And it makes the documentation and discussion that much more important. Over time, you can see that there are threads that we recognize because they've been saved, because people's experiences have been documented. So the courage that you showed to speak with BBC, the courage in your documentary, with National Geographic, I think this documentation effort is tremendously important. I think speaking up more broadly on social media is also very important, and I take Evan's point that we have to think about how do we capture what's happening in social media, which can disappear so very quickly, so that we have a record to build upon for the future. That brings me a bit to what gives me hope. I am so inspired by your work. Your work gives me hope, because I can imagine the pressure to be quiet. I can't imagine, I cannot imagine the pressure to be quiet. So your willingness to be here to share your stories, to help all of the rest of the world remember the dignity and humanity of every person, the right of every person to contribute to their government, to have an accountable government, to be respected in their humanness. I really take inspiration from you. So thank you.
People start rushing down really quickly. I just want to thank all of our panelists and our guest speaker for coming, for sharing their insights, all of their perspective, and for telling us a little bit about their personal experiences in the case of Mr. Wine, as well as their perspective on various really salient issues. So again, a big thank you and a big round of applause for everybody who's there. The event has now concluded. I'm going to ask the panelists if we could all stand right under the screen for a photo with our online panelists, and then we will be cutting the Zoom call. Mr. Kate Anderson and Maya, thank you so much for joining. So we're going to have the photo right away, and then I will let you go. Thank you so much for staying all the time. I really appreciate it. So if you could stand right there.
All right, it'll be really fast.
I'll have you in this, come on.
This
is you.
Come on, Agakagwawo.
Yes, yes, please.
Can we have take a round of applause for the International Women of Courage Awardee?
everybody look this way real quick? Look kind of me real quick. 3, 2, 1.
The president has
look
not.
This way. Now look at.
Look at Fatima really quickly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for all the photos. If you have any, you're welcome to send them to us by email. We will have a recap coming out, as well as an exciting event called the Onero Gala. If you're in DC and would like to attend, it's to celebrate our Bridge Award nominee, Professor Cynthia McClintock, for her work in international affairs. It's going to happen on April 23rd. There will be a recap. So all of you who have RSVP'd, so thank you again so much for coming. Thank you, Mr. Moyes, so much for your presence. Thank you, really much appreciated. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. And I sign out.